very smart about that, because we actually cleaned our lists and went back, and I thought, this could be really bad. We could go out and everybody could be like, hate you.
Yeah, right.
And I thought about that later. I said, I think that would have been something I would have thought about, seeing I am in communications marketing. Set the stage, and I thought, oh, you know, I don't have time to set the stage, though, because if I set the stage, I would have wasted a whole night of campaigning. And no offense, I didn't have time. Jack had to see the real thing.
Okay, well, welcome to the Patriot Ledger Editorial Board.
Thank you.
It's your first time here.
It is my first. It's my first time in front of an editorial board. This is
Okay.
true. Mm-hmm.
Well, everything we do is on the record.
Okay. Damn, I can't say off the record.
We're videoing, Jack's taking notes.
My legs keep getting caught up.
Oh,
Trying to find a way to
everything
It is
around.
yeah,
Oh, you know
a couple
what?
of danger spots
Why
under
don't
there.
you sit
Yeah, if I just slide over, I'm okay.
off on another,
Yeah.
location.
Yeah.
There you go. It's very funny. You do get caught in this.
If you do need to go off the truly,
No.
try not to, but, save it to the end and we can shut the video camera off. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the constant record.
No, I just tease Jack, because sometimes I'll be like, telling a story. And I'm like, that's probably not really. He asks me interesting things, because I don't think it's a family newspaper. I don't think I'll make it in anyway. So.
Well, you never know. We're trying to loosen up. And then, of course, there's the web, where almost everything goes. But again,
I like the blogs.
Yeah. You can give us an introductory statement, or we can jump right in. That's your choice.
Okay. We can jump right in, I think. Oh, I feel like you've already heard my introductory statement every time, so I guess Anne Mahoney, I go through the whole thing. Anne Mahoney, born, raised, educated here in Quincy.
Yeah, we
Born in
saw the
Quincy
family,
Square.
yeah.
Interesting thing. No, I'm running for mayor, obviously, because I have some real concerns of the direction of the city of Quincy, and I truly do believe that Quincy has some great potential, and I am concerned that if we don't start at least managing things correctly, we might be going further backwards than forward. Much like education, if you don't invest in it properly, you can quickly go backwards rather than forward. So that's an interesting thing that I feel as though we need to actually start managing our city and doing it in a way that we can take care of everybody in the city of Quincy and actually really plan out our projects so that we can be successful. And being on the school committee for 6 years and working full-time at what I do, I know that we can enable the city to actually have some of the things that we want, but we have to do it for all of the constituents of the city of Quincy. So that's my opening statement as to how I got here.
Well, I'm going to just start with your tenure on the school committee.
Sure.
The school budget represents a
third of the budget.
An enormous portion. It's the single largest block.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talked about, I think, at the high school debate, there is some question about whether we are effectively educating kids, given the amount of money we're spending. And that has not diminished considerably at all. Between our money and this money and that money, the school department has remained somewhat untouched. Not completely, nobody has, but...
$9 million is not completely untouched, but
Well, $9 million on how much?
Pardon me?
Over how many years?
Over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
$9 million over the last 4
On
years.
a total budget of?
Yeah, $82 million, yeah.
Over 4 years?
Yeah, well,
So-
but $9 million is, when you say it's not much, it's huge when impacting the fact that 97% of that budget goes to salaries, and that we have been cutting in the years, even the years prior. What we were doing is we're managing a budget, and there's actually no wiggle room in that budget, and we've cut everything down to the wire. In the essence of when you go back and you cut out the non-essentials, what people will say non-essentials, and it's a debate as to what's non-essential. Is technology non-essential? Are curriculum books non-essential? Those are very essential. So when you're doing that and you're left with protecting the classroom and keeping those classroom sizes small, you're actually not impacting the direction of
Well,
the
I
system.
think that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
At all costs, personnel have been saved. We have.
Well, it's important too, though, when you have a city the size that we have and the different dynamics in the city, because we also have a high population of English language learners. We have a high population of special ed, and those are mandated by, we're mandated to educate. So there's certain things that you're limited by what you can touch. It's a tricky balance, by all means, Chelsea. It's a tricky balance.
Believe me, everybody's budget is a tricky balance.
Mm-hmm.
People versus what you consider a general expense versus the ability to travel. Everybody's budget is the same,
Right.
and you know that. I guess what I am trying to get at is, yes, every school district has the same mandate for special ed, for second language. Some have more issues, larger populations, as a percentage of the total population than others. However, if it comes down to protecting teachers at all costs, then I guess I'm asking you, the efficacy of doing that and maintaining class size does not seem to have been reflected in the outcome in terms of the educational standards the kids are being graded on or tested on or achieve. And how do you justify that?
I don't think it's just the class sizes. Class size has been proven in a system the size of us with the different demographics that we have to actually be beneficial. Because we have a lot of different kids that are in the classroom, and the more kids that you have in the classroom, the less successful they're going to be. That is statistically proven that by breaking them down into cohorts that can actually work together, it's more successful for the teacher. I guess the question that when you're asking that, when we had the $9 million cut, we were losing true academic programs. We weren't losing we lost extracurricular also, but we lost true academic programs. And when we're talking about the media center that's K through 8, we lost the libraries K through 8, when in fact that's the very thing that we're trying to push for the MCAS, for the results, for the things that we're doing. And then we also lost technology. Technology is an MCAS class. We lost reading in the middle schools that we were actually putting in to actually help boost up our MCAS. So these are the things, these are teachers, those are teachers too that were losing their jobs too. But we were losing key academic programs that could be successful for our students. We were cutting back on what we consider extracurricular, art and music. Those things were being cut back to a minimal. Now those are the types of things that some people will say, well, that's not going to help them pass the MCAS, but it might actually help them be interested in the classes that they're learning, because not every child is prone to straight academics. You know, if they're an artist and you can inspire their techniques in art, then they might have an interest in the classroom. If they're sports enthusiasts, then you can get them to be interested in the classroom. It's about balance, and it's about providing opportunities for kids. So when we talk about level fund, and that's what we've been doing, is level fund versus level service. No matter what, you're going backwards in a community when you look at something like that. So when the mayor had suggested that we were looking for more, we weren't looking for more. We're looking for service, the service you're providing. And you have to level service and educational in any situation, or you're not going to be able to move those kids forward. Now we did grow our classroom size. So we have a school policy that we'd like to see the classroom size stay at. We're at the high end of that. So when you're cutting that, we're saying we've always protected it, we're still at it, but we're actually at the very, very high end of it. Because we've cut everything else out. There's nothing less to cut other than to go into larger classroom size. So is it protecting the teachers or is it protecting the students? And I think it's a combination of both. That small classroom size is also protecting the students to provide the opportunity for those kids to learn as much as they can in that classroom. And that's the balance that we have to strike.
And if you were to level service rather than level fund, would you see that money coming out of other areas of the city budget, or would it mean having to raise taxes?
I think it's one of those things where we have to actually look at the whole budget holistically. And this is where I basically question the 5% cut across the board. Was that the best way to be able to manage something? I don't necessarily think it is, because even if you lost your job at home and you had to pay your bills at home, then you're left with a situation. That's not realistic. It's a very not realistic way to be able to manage something, is to cut something 5% across the board and say everybody has to give up 5%. When in reality, you have to actually find a way to be able to provide everything underneath that one roof so that you can, there's some things that have to be cut. And it's really, at that point, it's what do we need, who do we need to supply services to, and what are the key services that we're doing? And education, police, and fire are the key services that you're looking at. But there are other services that we're doing too, and are there ways that we can do more with less at the top so that we're providing the services to all of our constituents.
And as you've looked at that, have you seen areas where you could have been more efficient? Are there areas of the town budget where efficiencies could be found?
Obviously, before jumping into the mayor's race, I was questioning whether or not, you know, as I do with anything in my career, I would look to see, are there other ways that things can be done, or is this just, and I think, you know, is this just something that you can't do? Is this the best we can do, or are there ways that you can do it better? So we've always done it the same way in Quincy, and when asking this question, like forecasting, nope, this is how it's always done. This is how it's always been done. This is how the last 4 administrations have done it. This is the answer I get in Quincy. So I'm left with this quandary, like, can we do it differently? Or am I just expecting too much from Quincy? So then I went out and spoke to other mayors of other communities and questioned how are they doing it and why can't we do it? And yes, you can do it differently, but you have to be open to that opportunity to be able to change the way you're doing things here in Quincy. And we are so comfortable with the way we do it because there's certain people, the way the departments work, and there's certain people within the departments, and if you change it, you change a whole dynamic. And it's as if we don't want to change that dynamic because we're comfortable. But it's an uncomfortable time. The economy, the budgets, everything's uncomfortable, and sometimes you need to move things around to make it work better for all of your constituents. And I don't think that was looked at. So when going out to talk to different people, talk to different mayors and asking those questions, and reorganizations did happen in those other communities. And you can do it. So yes, I think there's a ways that you can be more efficient and find savings by reorganizing and delivering those services back into the community. And that's where it comes right down to it. Government is a service-driven industry. I've worked in service-driven industries. It's about actually executing the services to your constituents. And we have to be more efficient about the way we're doing that. And there's ways that we need to be able to do that. And I think you can't rely on the way it's been done and have to look outside the box to be able to do it.
So you've lived in Quincy all your life. I have not, but I've been here now 14 years. So
You're a newbie.
all my grown-up life.
Welcome, Chaz.
Thank you so much. At least I say the name of the city right. What we do get a lot of services, and the expectation is that all kinds of stuff happens. You get the yard pickup, you get the garbage pickup, you get this, you get that. Everything's going to be perfect. The sidewalks are going to get shoveled. Are there things that people are just going to have to belt tighten about, and it's no longer time? I guess I'm asking you, what are the key services that need preservation as perhaps well as reorganization in order to provide?
I think I go right back to the priorities of public safety, education, and fiscal responsibility. And the fiscal responsibility, because the books really are not transparent, and we can't see how everything's being spent. And it really isn't. I mean, the way that they're showing us the budget, we're very limited as to what we can see. So without being able to see that full and do that full top to bottom analysis, it would be very hard for me to say what we can or what we can't do. But I do think that there are areas that we could go back and look at and determine by even asking our constituents some of those key questions as to what are those key things. I do think it's a matter of, when you ask people, this is just my feeling, when you ask people, one person, what is it you're going to take away from the table? Anne Mahoney. I'm not suggesting I'm going to take anything away from the table, but what I'm suggesting is I'm going to analyze it and be very forthcoming with people to let them know what those areas that we're weak on, and what is it that, and this is a balance, because it's a balance of asking people, because nobody wants to give up anything, but it's a balance of knowing, you know, what are the things that are costing us too much, and I can't tell you that without actually being able to have a full disclosure of that budget. So it will be an analysis that has to be done, and are there ways that we can actually change the way the whole hierarchy is working so that we can continue down that path to service those areas? Or are there ways that we might have to group things together in a way that we can still provide services, but maybe not do it in a different way, so that